So let me just look for the text. That's okay. It's okay. Okay. Okay, it's here. So at the end part of that, there is a verse that I think will help you carry on your study in Buddhism. So it says, okay, it's here. By understanding the true truths, the way things exist, I will ascertain how through the four truths we enter and exist samsara. I will make firm the faith in three jewels that is born of valid reason. May I be blessed so that the root of the liberating path is firmly established within me. That's so here is always trying to show the path how you proceed in Buddhist practice, like because you learn about the true truths, what is the conventional truth and what is ultimate truth. Once you have good understanding of this true truth, then you will know that what is real and what is illusion. And then based on that, you will be able to apply the cause and effects, right? So because of this, that effects arise. That's the four truths. So if you have if your foundation on true truth is very strong, then you can build on that, and then you can learn about the four noble truth. And then once you are able to understand or grasp the meaning of the four noble truth, well, then you'll understand, because because of this cause, these results arise. So that means how Buddha come into being, right? Cause and effects, if you know that. And then you will have that strong aspiration to become like him, because once you know the cause and effect, how Buddha become Buddha, then you will know that you have that potential. And then you will have a strong faith in Buddha or Dharma, the path that lead to Buddhahood. And then also Sanghas, those who have, are on that path. Then you will have, you will become real devoted Buddhist, because you have all the information necessary to become a Buddhist. And then through that, your practice will be more serious, because you see the destination there, right? You see the result. If you work on this path, then you will achieve that sort of a result, because you have conviction, and then you will pursue that. And then that's when at the last His Holiness said, I will make firm the faith in the three jewels, because I know that three jewels are not without any causes. They also can arises through their practices. So, and then if I also apply that practice, I'll also reach that level. And then with your firm faith in true dwellers is born with valid reason, because you study two noble truths, and then because you have a strong, good understanding of true truths, you know that four noble truths are also a fact, right? And then because of that, you have that faith. Those who teach true noble truths and four noble truths, they have, went through that path, and they share what they understood, not just make up something. So you have faith in them, and then you will aspire to become like them. So at the last, his Holiness said, "May I be blessed so that the root of the liberating path is firmly established within me." That's how you study. So first study two truths, right? And then you can, when once. So Heart Sutra is one, what you studied, yeah. So trying to teach you what is reality, right? And what is the appearance and what is reality. So if you are able to differentiate between them, and then you will know what is the cause and what is the effect, and then that's the four truth. And then based on your understanding of cause and effects, and then you will understand that, because of this cause, these results. So for the negative part, you can say, I suffer because of this cause, right? And then you try to, if that cause is removable or not, and then you apply reasonings, right? And you find out that you can remove those causes. That's when once you are free from that cause, then you are liberated. And Buddhas and those who have went through that path, they achieve that state because of this practice. And that's how the Four Noble Truths are, applicable in your life also. And then that's how you really see the value of their teaching, and then the teacher, and then you aspire to become like them. And that's how you take serious refuge in them, right? So that's the the framework you can use to. And then once you started studying two truths, right? When you start studying Heart Sutra, so there are, if you have more time, you can read many commentaries on Heart Sutras. Not necessarily the Heart Sutra itself, but teachings on emptiness. When you study two truths, so you basically try to study what is reality, and what is the something that just appears, not real. So once you are able to differentiate these two, you have laid the strong foundation. And then you can. And where does the Eightfold Path come from this? Oh, in Four Noble Truths. In the Four Noble. Yes. That's the actual path. That's the path. First, you need to lay the foundation. Right? Two truths apply to all the phenomena. Yeah. And then when it comes to Four Noble Truths, then you are entering into the Buddhist practice. Two truths is, as I said, like quantum physicists also talk about, ultimate truth, although it's not the highest levels of understanding from Buddhist point of view, but still they are on that path. So there are scriptures, lots of scriptures, or teachings or articles written on two truths. You can study those texts. Especially there are books by that I know about, like Tibetan scholars on two truths. One I think was composed by I think Karan Abbot of Cerame. There's a book on true truths, whole book. You can read his book by Geshe. It's the name of that book. Let me just get you the name for that book, which is for the beginners. I think for the none, like those who don't speak Tibetans, I think this is a good book. So, okay, so the name of that book is Relative Truth and Ultimate Truth. It's a series, second volume. So the foundation of Buddhist thought. This is the second volume by Geshe. So there, this is a one book that you can read when you want to learn about the two truths. And then there are, I think, eight books in this series, like foundation of Buddhist thought. So each volumes introduce different topics, like one on emptiness, one on awakening mind, like Bodhicitta, and one on Four Noble Truths, and one on Buddhist psychology and Tantra. So this is a good collection if you want to go through this. Because, and if you have questions regarding this book, when you go through this, the ceremony about is in Sarah. You can consult him. He's a good scholar, and he speaks perfect English. Spent, I think, more than 20 years in London. So, yeah, you have resources if you get time to read. Okay, so today, let's do short prayer first. Same as yesterday. So first, taking refuge, I will do that in Tibetan, and then you can just visualize. The first short prayer is basically taking refuge, and then aspiring to become a Buddha through practicing bodhicitta for the sake of all sentient beings. That's those verses that I'm going to recite. And then, as yesterday, I will do the Gandhi Lagima, the Guru Yoga for the Lamsonga short version. And then I will recite a Nixima short. And then, if you want to go through the Heart Sutra once again in English, we can do that together. And then praise to the Manjushri, the Buddha of compassion, wisdom, because we are studying today the Shantideva's text, A Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life, 5th chapter, and Manjushri is the main deity of Shantideva also. So let's pray to that deity. Okay, so as I said, just I will try to recite it as slowly as possible. Just you can meditate or visualize, and then try to create a good motivation that whatever activities that we are going to involve for the coming half an hour or two, we will dedicate this purely for the sake of all sentient beings. That's the strong motivation that we should have to get involved in this activity. Okay. Sanje Chudang Soge Chanangla Chanju Pado Dani Jesuche Dagi Jesu Yibe Chonangji Dola Penche Sanje Tuwa Sho Sanje Chudang Soge Chanang Chanju Pado Dani Jesuche Dagi Jesu Yibe Chonangji Dola Penche Sanje Tuwa Sho Sanje Chudang Soge Chanangla Chanju Pado Dani Jesu Dagi Jesu Yibe Chonangji Dola Penche Sanje Doba Sho Gaden Haje Gunji Doba Daba Shuza Kunde Chuze Chuje Jago Kunje Rosnanda Seda Cheva Nede Sheso So Dinge Nanga Sinje Tunde Jizun Lama Gebe Zumbarjian Dalo Tebe Sunum Shinjo Yamba Geshe Kaja Shuso Sheje Kyungu Jagan Lotu Kesan Nawe Genju Leshesu Tabe Pege Lamun Zebe Kondu Chamber from the latter, Yon Chile, Nazo, Nado, Fishing, the Nancy teachers, Mosham Yujo, children Yazo, Soman Shinjo, Chola, Chivo, Kanshi, Tome, Tunia, Savai, Langai, Nigeji, Kevra Doba Sundi, Medincho, Nime Jova, Travel Soso Sha, Nime Tude, Mountain, Dulas, Chidi, Pambe, Kanjo, Gombo Chidi, Lajan, Zevala, Baja, Samba, Tabe, Ira, Mo. So here I recite this 3 times because this is the actual activity that we appreciate, the activity that the Lama Tsongkhapa conducted in his life. So it's the meaning of this is that in this degenerative period, you spend most of your time studying and practicing. I mean, and doing all this activity without getting some sort of a mundane expectations, like worldly expectations. So these sort of actions that you have performed, so we really, from deep from our heart, we appreciate this activity that you performed at such a very degenerative period, instead of getting involved in the mundane things. So, or just enjoying the mundane things. You put lots of effort to study, to practice, so that you can show the path to us. So that's why I try to repeat this again, because why we try to remember their life story is that so that we can also at least try to be on that path. So this is the practice that he did. Although he's Lama Tsongkhapa was stayed very young, like maybe he passed away, he was 63 or something. But if you get to read his texts, scriptures that he composed, the commentaries that he had written, very powerful, very relevant, and you will be amazed to see how well informed he is within that short period. Like he's somewhat like in current terms, like he's considered somewhat like a prodigy. As a kid, he had performed something amazing, excellence in practice. So there are. That's why I try to recite this 3 times, and also His Holiness emphasized on that particular verses that the Lama Tsongkhapa has showed us. Even he has a direct perception, or that he has a direct contact with Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, but still he was advised by the Manjushri that he has to accumulate lots of merits. So he went to do prostrations, offering mandalas, and took lots of hardships to gain more knowledge. And then once he, after the completion of those practices, he was able to understand the meaning of emptiness more profoundly, and that's how he wrote the praise to the Buddha, to dependent originations, because of his teaching of dependent originations. That text was written. So that's why unless you put lots of efforts, you won't get the result. So even Lama Tsongkhapa put lots of effort. That section, emphasize on that. That's why I just try to recite it 3 times. Email to the market, good lots and children from the Tanjo, Gobo Chibu, Lajan Zevala, Raja Samba, Tabi Yiram, Jizun Lama Tamba, Chinan, Chubu Kala, Kinzi Tindi, Jidar Sambi, Bujit Zimbala, Sabji Chibu, Chawa Adu, Dagi Jini Sabe Gyawa de Tenda Doa Kunda Kanga Kiwa Jison was on Chaba. Then the Ningu Rendo Saji Shu, Gyawa Kundo Yaba, Lama the Tela Chibu, Longi Sada Waki, Indian as a Doji Changi go one year to show Pandians of Lama and which Dagi Ninga Communication, cutting chip, the companies and the person to the movie service. Minutes of vision series to make in the Uber Jade and to the knowledge of the sun that continues the student from Los Angeles, also the minutes of vision series to make in the Uber Jade and to the knowledge of the sun that continues the student from Los Angeles, also the minutes of vision series to make in the Uber Jade and to the knowledge of the sun that continues the student from Los Angeles, also the Sarapunda, the also the Tejo Shimi, also the Okay, Hot Sutra, let's do this together. It's on page 76, right? 76, right? Okay. I prostrate to Aya Triple J. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagavan was dwelling on mass of righteous mountain in Rajgir, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are empty, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, endless, not without saying, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so often, including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinctions of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on and develop in perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscurations and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who develop in the three times also manifestly, completely, and working to unsuppressible, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdoms. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsuppressed mantra, mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that truly pacify all suffering should be known as truth, since it's not false. Mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared Tayatha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Buddhi Soha. Tayatha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Buddhi Soha. Tayatha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Buddhi Soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that. It's like that one should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding the entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. And now the praise to the Manjushri Lama Dango Bujis in Jabeya La Chazelo, Kangi Moju, Chini, Tinder, Nida Nanda, Rasa, Chini, Jishin, Siji, Nigi, Tuba, Levons, Kanda Sibe, General, and the Meton, Duma, Gisk, Jozo, Fuji, Tazo, Mala, Juju, and this Rodan Chedo, Mimo, Milo, Negi, Chado, Joses, Marie, Muse, Domain, Yugo, Chini, Jose, Rajin, Dele, Taji, Saji, Tazo, and Dunzo, Yazo, Tubu. Judah Chuni Gendra Dalu Muse Jabe and on Arab Basanati on Arab Basanati Omara Basanati Sending Children Chero Segi Dalu Timo Member Rosen Kadam Tenjushin Rutowai Lojo Pove Nawa Zedo So Kazetawa Devam Chusetawa and Gombo Jaya Mini Gemevaya Tonga Choju Nakete do Messenger Kundu Drugi, Jidar Jaya, Chozo, Dagi Cheva, Terashu, Jesse Naga, Nevaka, Doa Jesse, is it done in Nigun and Joy to myself show? Okay, this is the prayer to motivate ourselves. And before we forget, every time I keep talking, and then we forget. So let's begin with a short meditation, silent meditation. So I think because the topic for today is, it's the 5th chapter of the Way to the Bodhisattva's, a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, is guarding alertness. So I will just say that let's think about some events in our life that troubles us, and then try to remember that event, and then maybe it's some sort of something that troubles you, like something that keeps you in trouble in the past. So remember that event, right? And then try to see what are the causes and how that lead to discomfort. Just check, or you can just if you don't want to remember any past event that is troubling you, you can just stay quiet, close your eyes, and check where your mind is going. Okay, just trace behind your thought and see where it is going. Like if you are not controlling it, how it functions, right? So if it is moving, say I'm talking right now, but at the same time my thought is somewhere else, right? So like this, you can just trace it, let it just go wherever it goes, and then see how how fast it's changing if you not pay attention to it. So I think this is much better if you don't want to. I mean, this is much easier. Instead of trying to remember something in the past, just work on this. Okay. We'll do this for 5 minutes. Okay, I'll use the timer. One second. Okay. Okay. Yes, that's Okay. Thank you. At least you have some sense that your thoughts is everywhere. Right? If I ask you, like, if you count how many different places you visited within these 5 minutes, I think it's countless, right? Yeah. And most of the thoughts, like it doesn't count with some sort of a relations for the previous thought, right? It just randomly. Yeah. So this is the state of mind we are in right now, not without training, without focus. That's how we are most of the time. And if you notice that 5 minutes is quite long, that means even if you get involved in practice, 5 minutes is good enough, right? So say at the time of your last breath, maybe you have a 5 minutes, and if you utilize that 5 minutes properly, it will have a huge impact. So any minutes where you are able to, any minutes, maybe any seconds, can make lots of differences. And at the same time, you might have also noticed that these fluctuations of thoughts, right? If you analyze these 5 minutes of thoughts, whether those thoughts, if you divide it into 3 different categories, like positive, negative, and neutrals, and you can analyze whether you have more negative thoughts. That means you have to be more careful, right? And if it's mostly neutral, then comparing to the negative thoughts, it's much better, right? But still, you are wasting lots of your time, even if it is a neutral. But if it's positive, more positive thoughts, then I think you are on a rightful path, right? So based on that, you can, put efforts to change. If it is more negative, try to be more neutral first, and then try to be more positive. If it is more neutral, then try to add more positive thoughts. So thoughts change the person, right? So this is simple but doable and also impactful if you do this again and again in a day, maybe 5 minutes, work for 1 hour, 5 minutes, do this meditation and check whether your thoughts are mostly in negative or positive or neutral, and then based on that you can apply. So that is actually the practice of alertness, applying the alertness, whether your thought is going on the wrong direction or right direction. So let's read from the text and see. I will try to explain as much as I can, but the verses are pretty much, easy to understand, I think. So the first verse of the 5th chapter, because the first 4 chapters, like 3 chapters are like basically trying to generate, they're talking about the benefits of a working mind, the first chapter, and then the second is about the disclosure of wrongdoings, right? So afflictions, removing your sins and all these things. And third one is full acceptance of the awakening mind. So, taking vows of becoming a Bodhisattva. And then conscientiousness. This is the 4th chapter. And then the 5th. So the 5th is following up to the fourth previous chapters. So at the beginning it says like those who wish to guard their practice, the practice that has been already taught in the first four chapter, should very attentively guard their minds. So here Shantideva is not saying that guard your body, guard your speech, but guard your mind. So just now we had analyze our mind for 5 minutes, and we noticed that our body is here in this room, but mind is everywhere, right? We are not talking, but what do you call that? This gossiping in thought. What's that? Murmuring or this? Mental chatter. Yeah, mental chatter is always there, right? In my 5-minute sessions, I met so many different peoples. So many, came into my thoughts. So likewise, although we are not verbally saying anything, but our mind is chattering all the time. Within those 5 minutes, so should attentively guard their minds. That's why it's the mind which is most powerful. For those who do not guard their minds, will be unable to guard their practices. So that's the what do you call that? The summary of this chapter. So here, Shantideva encouraged people who want to any sort of a practice. If you are not practicing, the Bodhisattva's law or whatever, any sort of practice, any dealings that you are involved in, if you not guard your mind will get distracted, and then you will be not able to accomplish that task properly. So that's what it's trying to say. And so the name of the chapter itself says like guarding the alertness. That's the name. So alertness should be utilized to guard where your thought is moving. So that's one tool that you have. Naturally, you have that. You have to use it, enhance it, and then use that to guard your thought. So this is the summary version of the chapter, and then the reason why we have to guard is that as I said, there are, if you divide the thoughts into 3 categories, like the negative parts is the one that is creating all the troubles, all the problems in us. So here the Shantideva is trying to explain first why, because of the wrong view, we get involved in these sort of difficulties most of the time. So he started from that. If you are not able to guard it properly, then with some analogies he's trying to explain to us, right? Unless you tame your mind, it will trouble you. So the first verse is this: in these unsubdued and crazed elephants are incapable of causing such harms as the miseries of the deepest hell, which can be caused by the unleashed elephant of my mind. So that's pretty true, right? In practice, it says, while you are alone, guard your mind, right? While you are with others, guard your speech or tongue, right? So when you are alone, it's similar situation what we did, like 5 minutes meditations. right? Although we are surrounded by someone, but it's same. It's only the thought that's working. So while we are alone, if we don't guard our mind, then it will, get involved in something uh, very negative, and then that leads us to get into troubles like stress, depression, and sometimes, I don't know, sometimes when you are alone, so many things arise in your thought, and then eventually, without your, what you call it, conscious effort, you started to do something, right? That's why it's like untamed elephant, right? Your thought, which is very powerful. If you leash, without leash, if you let it go into this crowded area, then it will trample, it will, destroy everything. Like this, same with our thought. And then, however, if the elephant of my mind is firmly bound on all sides by the rope of mindfulness, all fears will cease to exist and all virtues will come into my hand. Here also, as I said, like, if your thought is more into that negative side, then you have to use the rope of alertness to tie it and then bring it towards the first neutral parts and then to the positive side. So if you are able to do that, and once your thought becomes naturally, leaning towards the positive actions, positive, thoughts, then you will be more inner, joyfulness will naturally occur. And once you are innerly, joyful and what do you call that, stable, then your outer expression will be more, acceptable for others, right? If you are in a very serious mode, like serious, or if you are fully depressed, and then if you display some sort of a, wrathful appearance, then people will not not be happy to be around you. So that will lead you to, this is not only the anger part, even the pride is similar, right? Sometimes people become too arrogant, right? That's how others will not try to associate with you. This, even His Holiness Dalai Lama always said that he never feels himself as a Dalai Lama. Even in drinks, he always feels that he is a bhikshu, even in drinks, and simple Buddhist monk. So that makes him, easier for others to approach, right? If there's a pride displayed in his appearance, then it will not be helpful. So here, any sort of a negative emotion that arises in you, say maybe it's attachment or maybe it's anger, just analyze it. Or you can divide that within 5 minutes of meditation. If you saw you are more into anger, within the negative part, if you are going more towards the anger, then you have to apply the antidotes for that. And if it is more towards attachment, go to that. Or if it is more like a ignorant, right? Mostly dull, right? Not eager to do anything, then apply the antidotes for that. So this is, I think, a short practice we can apply. So that's what the Shantideva is saying here. All fears will cease to exist if you are able to tame your mind properly, not getting involved in that negative, and all virtues will come into my hand. Naturally, it will occur. Like, if your thoughts is, because it's the thought, not the action, right? motivation is very important in Buddhist practice. That's why, you know, your action could be violent, but deep down, that motivating part is more pure for this, with this, some sort of a concern for others' well-being. Then, if you display some, anger, or the action which somewhat like pain others, then that's more important, because out of sense of concern that you are doing this, right, without actual anger. So and then it says tigers, lions, elephants, bears, snakes, and all forms of enemies, the guardians of the hell worlds, evil spirits, and cannibals, you will be able to tame all of this. If you guard your thoughts, if you are more positive, in one of the praise to Buddha by Lama Tsongkhapa, he said that it's called, I don't know the name in English, it's called Kapsumba in Tibetan. Kapsumba, it's a name. So let me just explain the verses. It says, Dasun Kocha Masungwar Rani Chibu Chevetu Malu Pamse Yugile Kulish. So that at the time of Buddha getting fully enlightened, there were so many we called demons try to distract him, right? With different displays of objects, trying to get him attached to those, or get him anger. So many performance they performed at the moment of, even some like very wrathful displays were shown at that time. But still Buddha was able to overcome all this without holding even a tiny weapons in his hand. So how can you do that without, the answer for the weapon is not weapon, right? But that's what he's saying. So here, Rani Chiku, Buddha overcome all this army of distractions through by himself. He alone, challenged all this without holding any weapons. How can he do that? That's through his compassion, right? That's when Kosha Masuma Rani Chilu Malu comes in, you give the overcoming that battles, who else can do that other than Buddha himself? Because that's the power of compassion, or the power of taming your mind. So if you are not, if you are fully controlled, if your mind is fully tamed, then whatever external, display or external forces are there, it will not hinder you. That's what it's saying. So here it says like tigers, lion, elephants, if they are around, right? And in the one of the commentary, it says that there are enlightened beings who ride on tiger. In the case of Nagarjuna, there are snakes protecting him. So that's because he controlled his mind. The enlightened being could tame his mind. Then once you tame your own mind, then you tame everybody else. No force will trouble you at all. That's what it's saying. But because we have a very limited times, otherwise there are stories where the sages had through taming their mind, they are able to train the surroundings. So that's there. You can read through the commentaries later. And then will all be bound. So here it says evil spirits and cannibals will all be bound by binding by my mind alone, and will all be subdued by subduing my mind only alone. So this is the general information about why it's important to tame your mind so that you can tame others. And then the sixth verse says, the perfect teacher himself has shown that in this way all fears as well as all boundless miseries originated from the mind, who intentionally created all the weapons for those in hell, who created the burning iron ground, from where did all the this woman in shoe. So this is basically talking about, these are all mind creation, right? All the miseries that's there are because of the untamed mind. So here, this is also the Mahayana's explanation about where hell is. Like, hell is not external thing, external location. It's within your mind. So even if you are in heaven, physically born in heaven, but if you are not able to tame your mind in full misery, then innerly you are in hell. So that's so don't when normally when we pray to God or to the James or Jewels, we look up, right? That's natural. And then when we try to generate some compassion towards the other beings or the more inferior or hell, we look down, right? But that's a wrong notion. So hell is not below us, or heaven is not above us. It's in here. So if you transform here, you will be even. That's why there are lots of examples like the without compassion holding a white lotus. So lotus grows in a muddy area, but the flower itself is not muddied, right? So likewise, this will also cover here in this chapter, right? Wherever you are, if you are able to tame your mind, then the surrounding will not make any influence on it. That's what it's saying. Because everything is created because of our untamed mind. The miseries are. And here, let me just remind you, while you are studying this book, A Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life, one thing you have to remember, it's not discriminating. Because here it says woman, because this discourse was given at the congregation of Sanghas, like all male. So you can, for the females, you can, flip that. You can come up with examples of man's, the shortcomings of the man. That's because sometimes feminists, instead of studying it, they just started to criticize, which is not that helpful. So you have the way of looking at it is because you have to look at the context where it was, the Mighty One has said that all things are the working of a negative mind, as I said. Hence, within the three world spheres, there is nothing to fear other than my mind. So don't if you have somebody who is troubling you other than you, then I think as long as you apply your patience, right, he's nothing. Right? Most harmful thing that he can do, maybe he can sever your life, right? He might be able to kill you. For the Buddhists, we believe in next life, many lives to come. I think he will not put you into hell, right? So, but you have to protect your life. Don't get killed, but at least that sort of a mind, if you have, at the most he can harm you, kill you, but he will not take you to hell. It's your own mind. If you are not able to control that, his action will not take you to hell, but your mind response will put you to hell. That's what it's saying. So the Mighty One has said that all things are the working of negative mind. Hence, within 3 world sphere, there is nothing to fear other than my mind. So that's the negative potential of the mind. But if you look at the positive side, if you tame it, then you have the maximum capability to accomplish with this mind. So there is an advantage and disadvantage both. So it's in your hand. If you use it properly, then you have a maximum impact using this mind. And now the Bodhisattva's practice involves 6 perfection, right? So here we will go now into the 6th perfection. The first one is the perfection of generosity, where the elevation of the world's poverty. Then, since beings are still serving now, in what manner did the previous Buddha perfect it? So, generosity is the goal of generosity is removing the people from poverty, right? And there are countless Buddhas who have perfected the generosity, but why there are so many poor in this world? That's the question. Yeah. The answer is that the perfection of generosity is said to be the thought to give all beings everything, together with the fruit of such a thought. Hence, it's simply a state of mind. So, the practicing generosity, material generosity is also good, but if you give something at the same time, people get involved in these practices just to get fame sometimes, right? So here it emphasizes together with the fruit of such thoughts, right? If you give something, it will help a certain portion of the people, but not alleviate all the poverty, right? But your mind has a strong urge to remove all the poverties, all the miseries of the people, even though your contribution in terms of material is very few, but you have that strong urge, strong thought. And then you are not expecting any result of this generosity to yourself. The result is also dedicated to them. That's the state of mind. So that's how you perfect your generosity, not externally, internally. Whenever you have the opportunity, you are, always willingly to share, always willingly to, give up or sacrifice. At the same time, not only the material, but the benefit out of it also for the sake of others. That's the perfection of, generosity here. It's also a state of mind. Now here, the second one is the ethics, right? Or moral ethics. So here, nowhere has the killing of fish and other creatures been eradicated. For the attainment of merely the thought to forsake such things is explained as the perfection of moral discipline. So here we are sitting in this room, right? We have, there are, in oceans or in ponds or in rivers, people are, fishing, harming fish, right? Or maybe in a butcher's house, they are killing lots of animals. But we are saying here, we are, practicing moral ethics, not killing. right? And the Buddhas have already perfected the moral ethics, but still they are suffering. Why that? Then how can you say that they have perfected? Again, it's saying that it's a state of mind. As long as you are not getting involved mentally, that's how you perfect the moral ethics. Okay, this is the second. And then unruly beings are as, this is a very famous, verse. As space, they cannot possibly be overcome. However, if I overcome thoughts of anger alone, this will be equivalent to vanquishing all force. So this is also same, right? So perfection of patience is not subduing all the external enemies. It's the anger. If you subdue it, then you overcome all the enemies, right? If you are not getting angry, then you have no enemy, right? As long as you are able to tame your anger, then if you are not angry, then you will not get agitated, right? So you will not be, mentally challenged, right? That's why I think this, with the analogy here, is very popular when it comes to practicing patience. So here it says, where would I possibly find enough leather with which to cover the surface of the earth, yet wearing leather just on the sole of my shoes is equivalent to covering the earth with it, right? So you cannot cover, right? That's true, right? If there are thrones, and if you try to cover all the thrones, that's not possible. So just covering your soul, it's enough to protect you, right? So this is same. So that's the analogy, but it's the anger which is the real enemy that's there. If you tame it, then you'll be free from enemy. That's why His Holiness always said that even the Chinese, he has a stronger compassion towards them, right? He's not angry with the communist Chinese. And then, although the development of merely a clear state of concentration can result in taking birth in Brahma's realm, physical and vocal action cannot result when accompanied by weak mental conduct. So this is same for the concentration, right? Mere concentration, like not getting distracted, not getting into a negative thoughts, right? Just not staying in a neutral state will lead to get you rebirth in heaven. If that is the case, right? And that's how controlling your mind is effective. But without those strong concentration, if you read or recite, prayers, texts, like without any concentration, I do that most of the time when I do my daily prayers. Like, I recite those prayers because I'm adapted to that, so I don't have to, stay focused. Just the recitation just follows, right? But without any concentration, I will get benefit only like verbal actions or physical actions, but not mentally into that. So which is not helpful. So if your session is even short, utilize that properly, not getting distracted. That's the message here. And then the Norbu of reality has said that even if recitation and physical hardships and practice for a long period of time, they will be meaningless if the mind is distracted elsewhere. That's true, right? So if somebody look at you while you are doing recitations, right? Others might think that you are fully devoted in that prayer or practice, but if you are not fully concentrating on the verses or the meaning of those verses or meditating, then it's just a physical expression, not that helpful. Okay, then even those who wish to find happiness and overcome misery will wander into no end, no meaning, if they do not comprehend the secret of mind, the paramount significance of them. This is talking about the emptiness of the mind, right? Real nature of the mind here. So this is the wisdom part, right? So unless if you utilize that essence or the core consciousness, right? The emptiness of that consciousness, then other practice are not that powerful, because you are aspiring to remove all the suffering, or cease the rebirth in cyclic existence. For that, you need to uproot the main cause, right? The main cause is the wrong view that you have. So here the practice, it says like, will wander with no aim or no meaning if they do not comprehend the secret of the mind. That's the emptiness, the paramount significance of Dharma. Even though those who wish to find happiness and overcome misery, it's not going to happen. This being so, I shall hold and guard my mind well. Without the discipline of guarding the mind, what use are many other disciplines? And then it comes like the examples. Just as I would be attentive and careful of a wound, like if you have nails in the toe, it's been removed and you have sore here, and if you walk in a crowded area, you'll be very careful not protecting it unless somebody step on it, right? That's sort of a mental state you have to apply. When amidst a bustling, uncontrolled crowd, so I should always guard the wound of my mind when dwelling among harmful people. So always stay alert all the time, not while meditating, all the time. This is very helpful. Yes.
Where is the mind?
Mind. Okay. Very good question. There is no specific location. That's from the Sutra's point of view. Mind arises because of three conditions, right? The external, for the sensory consciousness, there's an object that you perceived, one thing, and then there's what we call that sense organ, where it resides, or which help it to arise, and then the immediately preceding consciousness. These three has to come together to give rise to, for example, eye consciousness. Say there's an external object is there, and then that sensory, like eye organs is there for the mind to arise, and then this immediately preceding consciousness should be there. These three conditions, if these three conditions are there, then the I consciousness will arise. So the most important condition is the immediately presiding consciousness. So that's the what you call the continuum of the mind stream. But in Tantra, they talk about subtlest mind. So they say that there's a wind energy which this consciousness used to mount on it. And then the subtlest consciousness, they talk about channels. And there's at the center of your body, somewhere near the heart, there's a region where this subtlest consciousness resides. So that's, and then you can, through practice, you can, it's mostly the surface consciousness remain in a dormant state most of the time, but through practice you can, evoke it and then use it. So that practice is known as like, you apply it to dissolution process, like, you dissolve the grosser level of consciousness and get to the surface. And then at that time, that surface consciousness arise, and then you use it to perceive emptiness like this. So that's in there. So in sutras, they don't talk about channels. In tantras, they talk about channels and levels of consciousness. In sutras, they talk about level of consciousness, but not the subtlest one, which goes from this life to next life. But anyhow, it requires at least three conditions. Yeah, with that three conditions, that consciousness naturally, occur.
But on a simplistic format, like what we did, the exercise of 5 minutes of silent meditation, we were looking at thoughts. The thoughts were also informed by feelings and sensations. So, like for instance, my leg is paining sitting like this. Should I change? That is very basic. So the sensation. There is also, I am feeling happy to be here, bored to be here, whatever. That is a emotion. And that is the material forming in the thought. There is also my thought, and I'm also hearing voices outside. Some irritation. Why can't they be quiet? There's an external thought. So all of that is for a part of the mind or all of the mind?
Oh, there are different minds. So many, so see.
When you see taming the mind in this thing, what are we taming?
Oh, okay. So any sort of a stimuli that, ignite the thought to arise. So at that moment, if the thought is turned towards the negative side, then you have to grab it there.
So if I'm hearing from
Yes.
And that thought of mine is slight bit of irritation, what do I do?
Okay, say that person is shouting, right?
Yeah.
Telling something.
Yeah.
If it is because it is disturbing you now. So if you get irritated, then you have to know that it's not going to harm him. Who will get harmed? Yes.
Yeah.
So at that moment, you have to check, okay, this irritation is not going to help me.
Yeah.
So what's the point getting irritated?
And that's how you tame it.
Yes.
That's how you tame
you
take out the attention from it.
Yeah. So it's like you are at that moment, if you are distant your thought from that object.
And bring it back.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how. I mean, this is for the beginner. It's in Abhidharma Kosha text. It says like, we have not elevated negative emotions. right? Negative emotions are there with us. And then the object for the negative emotions are always around, right? And so the causes, external causes are there.
And maybe internal also.
Yes, yes. That the third part.
Yeah.
Target found on minds means you have not removed the emotions. You have not distanced yourself from the object of the emotions. And then target found on minds. And then you have this distorted thinking is there. So these three are there. Then naturally that emotion will arise. So for the beginner, it's better if you distance yourself from those troubles. So that's why find a quiet place or isolated place where you don't have that external disturbances. So that's the easiest way you can distance yourself from that. That's external thing. And then the internal thing is that as soon as you have that object met with the emotions, at that moment, if you pay a little bit attention, you will have some sort of physical sensation at the same time, right? That's the moment you have to apply the antidote. If it is fully blown, then it will be difficult.
So what would be the antidote?
Antidote, either you try to get away from it, if it is possible. If not, try to see whether that agitation will help you or not internally.
So if I were to move from negative thought towards my objective of motivation, is to move from negative thought towards positive thought.
Yes.
So if taking the same example, the sound is irritating me. This person is saying something while I am doing my meditation. And so I say, 1 second, I get aware of that irritation and then move into why am I getting irritated? How is it benefiting me? Then going into moving slowly into the direction as he's doing his job and I'm doing mine and he's getting a livelihood of it and moving slowly into compassion. That would be moving from negative to positive. That's the objective.
Yeah, that's one.
I'm the same one.
Yes, one approach.
Yeah, of
But
course.
in
simplistic.
Yes. Well, in practice, there is a technique where you just let the thought to arise and simply notice it and don't pay attention.
Not get attached to it.
Yes, don't.
So it gets going.
Yes.
Okay.
If you, I'm not experienced practitioner, but I talk with practitioner many times because I'm involved in the research where the practitioners say that when we hook them up with EEGs and then let them do their meditation, and then we sit around while they are meditating and we use some devices which create some sounds or disturbance. Most of the time, I think maybe 100 out of 100%, like maybe 90% of the meditators or practitioners, they say that they didn't notice at all. How they are able to do that? That's because each consciousness, like if you study the Buddhist psychology, there are primary consciousness and there are secondary consciousness. Like we call mental factors. So there are different mental factors simultaneously arising with the primary consciousness. So there are 5 omnipresent consciousness. One of them is feeling and also attention. So what the practitioner do, they cease attending to that object which trouble them or which disturb them. So not giving fuel to that attention, this will just naturally subdued. The example is like the wave in the oceans, right? It rises and then it will subdue by itself without any external force. This will just naturally go down. Likewise, thoughts are like this. If you give fuel, if you pay attention to that, it will, remain there and get stronger. So cut off the fuel, the thought. That's how you just, just don't pay attention to that. Just focus on what you are doing. And when you are trying to focus on what you are doing, you are enhancing attention to that object. Right? So that will suppress other thoughts. That's the practice. So I think, I think if you listen to some of the talk by Geshe, the translator for the Solomons, English translator, I remember I listened to one of his podcasts, like a Mind and Life podcast, where he said that well, most of the time he translates for his Solomons. It's like a simultaneous translation, right? Imagine how he can do that. He is using two attention at the same time, like listening and speaking. So he's splitting the two attention, right? So these two attentions are different mental factors with different mental consciousness, because one is ear, like hearing, one is tongue.
Also translating.
Yes.
It's also translating.
Yes. So listening at the same time translating, or So that's how you, if you are able to enhance your attention. And this is similar. When he was asked how he was able to do that, he said that through practice in debate courtyard, Buddhist monks debate all the time, right? So while debating, if you have seen monks debate in Sera or Dragon Garden, it's highly crowded, right? So many noise, but they are communicating one-to-one in that crowded area. Even there are so many noise there. Everybody is shouting, but individuals are able to communicate. That's the power of attention that they are using, right? They are not attending to others' voice. They're just focusing on whoever they are debating with. That is getting trained there. That's how you are able to, utilize split your attention at, simultaneous translation or other jobs. So through training, you will be able to seize the fuel for the attention that is not what you are, aiming at. So the shouting, the ear consciousness is arising. At the same time, the omnipresence of the, the mental factor that comes with the air consciousness comes together with the attention. And if you, just neglect it, then it will just, that's how it's, through training. Yeah. And in fact, the meditators, like scientists say that they are able to restrict the external, the stimuli from the sensory organs, particularly like air, stronger than the patient who are in coma state. So imagine how through training you can do that, right? So that's what it's saying, that just as I would be attentive and careful of a wound when amidst a bustling, uncontrolled crowd, so I should always guard the wound of my mind when dwelling among harmful people. That's how you have to practice. And then it says, And if I am careful of a wound through fear of it being slightly hurt, then why do I not guard the wound of my mind through fear of being crushed by the mountains of hell? This is the reason why you have to, and the result is here. Should I behave in such a way as this, then whether among harmful people or even in the midst of, for the male disciples, women, the steady effort to control myself will not decline. So surrounding is nothing as long as you are able to control your mind, right? So here the guarding alertness is that you know what is right, what is wrong, keep that in memory, and then when your thought arises, check whether it's positive or negative. If it is negative, use the alertness to hold it there, not getting into that. So that's the actual meditation training. Okay, so this is pretty much I have to share because from I think verse 21 onward, you learn next week, right? 22, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, next week. And with that, I think if you have other questions, comments, or
6 participants online.
oh, okay.
They have questions.
Yes, please. Any questions if they have, or you can, if any suggestions, right? Or if maybe it's because I'm not using any commentary for this particular text because we have a very limited time. There are lots of commentaries they can read, or they can listen to other commentaries online. But in any questions of stories, well, I think I will give you a simple example, right? As I said, I try to practice as simple as I can, right? So here they talk about 6 perfections, like starting from generosity. And most of the time people feel that I'm too poor to be generous, right? That's the best excuse we have all the time, right? And then always people will say that if I have this much, I can share, right? So nothing is enough for most of the time, right? So what I do in terms of practicing generosity or the moral ethics, I always, it's somewhat like people will think that it's some sort of a joke, but I share it jokingly. At the same time, I do that. I think if I remember, maybe I might have shared this earlier, but there's I heard a story where a woman, Tibetan woman, who become nun when she is in late 60s, and very dedicated, and because she didn't get to study at her young, she was a household wife, but she attended lots of teachings. So she decided she wanted to become a nun. Then she started to do small practices. So one simple practice that I think it's very powerful. She said she always practiced generosity early morning, but just right after getting up, she consumed a spoonful of tsampa with lukewarm water, not hot water, right? Swallow it to give this to the small, tiny microorganism residing in her body. Sampa, yeah. So how amazing that is, right? You have countless microorganisms residing in your body. You can, give them alms every day. Eat good food, delicious food. At the same time, here it says everything is state of mind. So yeah, you just practice generosity while eating. Very easy, right? And then when it comes to practicing moral ethics, I think she's also doing that because she's not using hot water. Why? It might harm those. So not killing, right? It's simple. And then, this is a little bit extreme, but you can also practice when you get sick, right? Physically discomfort is there, but some immediately will not go to not take antibiotics because they feel that it's harming. They bear the pain. That's patient, right? If it's not that serious, right? And then the concentration and everything can go together all the time. Or what I call it, the positive effort is always applied there because you are joyful in your actions. That's positive effort, right? So there are a simple way of doing this. You don't have to be rich in material. You have to be rich in your mind. That's how you practice. So if you are able to, that's why I think the scholars are saying that if you are clever enough, practicing Buddhism is very easy, right? Remember yesterday the benefits of practicing emptiness. Even if you offer lots of things to Buddhas, comparing to just thinking about the meaning of emptiness, it's much more. So just sit in a cozy place, right? Drink maybe sweet tea, and then think about emptiness of the tea. There's a paper out on emptiness on coffee. Yeah. You can do it, study emptiness, practice emptiness on everything. Not necessarily, read huge texts or very, very wordy commentaries. Just relax and think and try to be as simple as possible. That's the main practice, I think. Buddha's approach is middle way, like not getting to two extremes. So this applies to everything. So here I think there are this sort of stories, that there are lots of stories that just read and learn from those who are actually practicing. And then there are scholars. I mean, it's very important that you study, but when it comes to practicing, I think, as I said, the voices that I share from the insomnias, you just have to memorize this voice, right? And then every day add more information to those. Build on that. That's the foundation. And then from that you build on, and then your knowledge will expand. And when it comes to practicing, you just have to think about these four voices, right? This is how simple you can do that. I mean, we don't have this like Bibles or Bhagavad Gita. This is there. Or you can recite it, Tayatha Gate Gate, and then try to add extra information all the time. What is Tayatha? Then what is Gate? first gate, second gate, and likewise you can keep on adding more information. Maybe one day you have a little bit more information about the first gate, and then second, likewise. I mean, I don't think it's important that you have, time to read whole scripture. Try to get the essence and then apply it to day-to-day life practice, because but it says that there are steps how to get involved in practice. The first, I think maybe I will find it here. Okay, let me just find it here. 1 second. This is the way you can study or you can practice, or you will be. This is how, if you follow this path, you'll be able to successfully practice. It says that, okay, so it says I marked it here, but I cannot find it. Oh, okay, this is here. Okay. It says Arya Deva, a 3rd century Indian master, present 3 stages of overcoming the mental afflictions in his 400 verses on the middle way. He writes, first, the unwholesome must be averted. Right? Sonam member Thapoto, that's in Tibetan, and part of Dani Tovache. In the middle, the self must be averted. Wrong notion of self should be avoided. That's the Heart Sutra text we are studying. And then lastly, lastly, all the views are avoided. Wise is the one who knows this.
All the views.
Yes, wrong views.
All the wrong views.
Yes. So it says the first stages of spiritual practice is to restrain oneself from gross negative actions of body, speech, and mind. That's like restraining from, getting involved in 10 unwholesome deeds. And in the second stage, once one has gained a certain degree of restraint regarding these actions, one challenges the affliction directly by means of applying antidotes, right? It's similar, like distancing yourself from the object of negative emotions. And then once you are somewhat, strong enough, then you apply antidotes. That's the emptiness part. For example, the countering anger, one cultivate loving kindness, and to counter attachment, one contemplate impermanence. These antidotes help to reduce the intensity of negative emotions. However, the most direct methods, this is what I'm quoting from this book. However, the most direct method for overcoming the mental affliction is to cultivate insight into emptiness. Unless you have, good knowledge in emptiness, there's no way that you can overcome the mental afflictions, totally eliminations of mental afflictions. In this final stage, all views, that's one strive to eliminate not only the afflictions, right? So, but also the propensity that are their residues, like imprints of those, so that no trace remain that can bring about future occurrence of this. This is not only through wisdom, but combination of method also, because your mental state should be very strong to overcome not only the afflictions but the imprints of them. For that, you have to be very strong. For that, you have to generate strong compassion that assist the wisdom knowing faculty to deal with all the. So these are the three stages that Aryadeva is talking about. So there are.
What is this?
I think yesterday I said the essence of the Heart Sutra text.
Essence of the heart.
Yeah, by His Holiness. So
translated by Geshe, as you said, is
Geshe. Yes, yes. This is a very good book. I think maybe I can recommend for the students, if they read this text, like for Heart Sutra study. Yeah. It's available online. Yeah. Okay.
There's a question from an online participant.
Yes, please.
So she asked, why is it difficult the need to share things, good or bad experiences, and feel relieved afterwards? Is it a good thing, or must I work on myself to get rid of this need to share things?
Yeah, I might not have the answer for that, but I think that maybe in our monastic practice, like conduct, when we at the time of confessions, right, there is a term where it says that I will not hide anything that I did wrong, like anything I went beyond the conduct or monastic conduct. If I have done something wrong, I will share it. So hiding or not sharing is somewhat, somewhat like holding back something, right? So if you have been through some trauma, and then if you don't share it, then that will remain there, right? And then that will, and then you have to put extra effort to hide it, right? So you get fear if it is known by others. So that feeling is disturbing you, I think. So once you started sharing that, then you will be relieved. I think at least, it's not only you that know of that incident. Maybe that could be the reason why you have some sort of solace afterwards once you share. But in terms of the positive things, I think sometimes it's advised not to share publicly, because once you share some achievements, then people will maybe, sometimes people will just appreciate it or compliment. That might make you proud, boasting and all these things. So in Shantidava's text, it says that if somebody appreciates what you have done, then instead of getting pleasure for his appreciation, you should appreciate him for acknowledging the good deed you did. So appreciate his quality, not your achievements. So that's in the practice. So I think the negative things, if you share, I think even in our monastic, we are not supposed to hide any, not share publicly, but at least you have somebody seniors to share and confess and purify. If you hide, if you are about to do some wrong, and then from the beginning itself you decided that you are not going to share it, then it will be it's considered more serious crime, and more difficult to purify. So I think because once you should, it's like this, you hide something and then you have to keep lying all the time, right? So if you have some reliable person, then you just talk to him and share, and then that will, I think, at least relieve you from that, holding back kind of a mindset. Yes.
So I have a related question.
Yes. Yes, please.
So you're talking about trauma, right? And you're talking about how sometimes we need to develop the practice of confiding in people. But with any trauma, and if you look at mental health, people always seek to, they cope with things that later become a problem. Either they cope by being silent, or either they cope by drinking, or either they cope by gossiping, or, but all of the things that they reach, and they're trying to seek happiness, they're trying to come out of this trauma. Why is it that though when we listen to our elders speak or people with experience, we always know that there are healthier ways of dealing with things? But why is it that even though there is that knowledge, it becomes so hard, and what we start off by doing for ourselves actually becomes a negative thing?
Well, the easiest answer is, the ego, because you are not, because of your arrogant nature, right? Sometimes I think, even in my case, like, if I am not, if I'm in a difficult situations, right? There's a pride that you don't seek help, right? Even there is, if somebody notice and then if they share some methods to overcome it, but your pride comes in between you, oh, I'm not going to, even if you apply that, you will not do that openly, because you don't want to give that person credit. That's ego. There are other factors also, but I think, I had that experience just yesterday. I think I shared to Shanti and that there are two young students. I was there at the bus station. They can approach me. They didn't approach me. They went to a totally stranger for help. Why? They are too proud. Because approaching a stranger, it's a one time, right? They don't have to meet them again. Right? So that's one issue. And later when I talk to them, I just to convince them, I show some photos like where I've been, what I'm doing, just to gain their confidence. And then later they started to be more open to me. But because of arrogance, they are seeking help from a stranger, totally stranger. Fortunately, it's not, the situation was not that bad. at that time. Otherwise, most of the time, your next door neighbor will not seek your help most of the time. They will approach somewhere else, or even ourselves, right? We don't read, the text in front of us. We will search somewhere else, right? We will just, if there's a scholar sitting next to me, I will not approach him. I will just go online, look for some resources where I don't have to share credit. So that sort of thing is there. Like, and maybe just deep down, it's, I think, ego. Yeah. And in my case, yeah, that's ego. I have that proud that, people will, I think, they talk about self-conscious, right? People are too self-conscious about their self that they, try to, appear nice, appear, well educated, and always concerned about their, appearance. Most of the time, that self-conscious is the biggest challenge. Once you overcome that, once you started to care less about what other things, but that's not easy.
I think also in today's world, a lot of people judge you based on this.
Yes.
So you have to face that and be strong enough to face that.
Yeah, there are some people I know who doesn't care whatever others says. This is very helpful. I mean, they are successful people, right? Even they are considered stubborn, right? But they are able to accomplish things.
The book is judged by style.
Oh, yes. Yes.
In fact, there's a very thin line between arrogance and vigilance.
Oh, yes.
Now, even, confessing maybe lightens your burden.
Mm-hmm.
Then sometimes your weakness is you don't confess it, or you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to appear to be. But then also sometimes your decisions. You make a declaration of it. Also, because somewhere in your mind you are also worried, you may just get back. Now, once I make a public declaration of it, there is no way I can go back.
Yes.
So, maybe we are doing that also to, be more transparent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have, I think, being a monk, I think this is easier compared to you guys. Yes.
Schooling, you have to wear uniforms, you have to be properly uniformed. Yes, in my school we have room checks. And then when you go into the work life, again, you have to be, dress code is there are certain etiquettes. Again, you can't be around, just be looking what you wish to. I mean, it's not.
Just look at the picture of Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
Hairstyle. No, see, if you don't care what other things about your hairstyle, you just focus on what you are doing. That's
We were in the Namdol monastery. In Dharamshala, His Holiness temple.
Oh yes, Namdol monastery.
Yes. It was so nice. We were all sitting one day, and His Holiness was teaching Bhavana Krama. Then that afternoon, we were waiting for somebody to come and teach. And then suddenly, in the courtyard, everyone is doing their thing. Nobody's listening. They've all had a nice lunch. And suddenly, you can hear a cane going, walking stick. And then everyone started to get up and make way. I thought His Holiness is coming, and I didn't know who I was doing first time. And some of them were projecting.
Oh.
And he was just wearing a common. And then when he walked in, he looked so simple. I looked beyond him because I didn't know who Sandra was. And then you see, he's so simple and.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
So, and he spoke Hindi, which was I've never heard.
Yes. Oh yes. Yeah, that's
in Sanskrit. First
No.
Prime Minister.
Mhm. Yes.
Prime.
No, I mean, this is what we learn from Indians. But Indians are now getting influenced from Westerns, unfortunately. Because one time, I think in 2014, I organized a workshop for the senior monks in our monastery, like the Western philosophy, psychology. We invited a professor from Mysore, University of Mysore. He's the department head of psychology department in University of Mysore. So he came that morning, right before the start. So I was waiting for him at the outside the hall. All the monks were gathered inside the hall, and then he came by public transportation, like come out to buy a copy by bus, like government bus, and then from there he took auto, and then he came when he got out of the auto, I noticed that he is in a very simple dress, right? Shirt, pant, and was carrying a backpack like this. It's a black backpack like this, and there are hand stitch around. So he came, and then he entered the hall. All the monks were shocked to see a department head of Mysore University in that casual dress, simple, like shirts, I think maybe 100 or 200 rupees shirt, I think that, and then pants, very simple. So that's, the real quality of knowledge, right? If you apply it, and then this is enough to sustain you. But now, you wear what, I don't know, they are branded things. Yeah, yeah. And then that's why.
In such a hot weather, they have to wear jackets and tie.
That's why His Holiness said that, Tibetan lamas has long names, but short knowledge. Indian Pandit, they have a short names, but long knowledge. Like his example is like Dignath. Yeah, short name, but the Tibetan Lama, they tend to have 3, 4, Anyhow, I think Buddhist practice is a practice that is trying to teach us to live simply. As long as you stay simple, your needs are limited, so you have less stress. I think, but I think everything is manageable if you try. So that's, I think, the essence of the teaching. I think where Buddha said that don't go to two extremes, right? Don't practice too what do you call that? Austerity, like too, like, and then don't get too what do you call it, luxurious. Yeah, stay in the middle. That's for everybody. If we don't go to too extreme, then you will not see poverty in Africa. You will not see lavishly living in northern part of the world. So if we started to share resources, then I think we have enough, right? Enough resources, but we are not doing that. That's really unfortunate. So I think maybe His Holiness, because being an optimist, he think that things will get better. So let's just hope. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's it. I think we have. Sure. No, we will do that after. We will just dedicate and then. Yeah, we having tea afterwards. Okay, thanks for your attention. It's really I feel very grateful that I have this opportunity to go through reading scriptures. If I'm not asked to come here, then I'll be on social media most of the time. Anyhow, even the text parts with I got to read some commentaries, and I have some questions. Like yesterday, there are some questions, profound questions that I will reflect on. So I think, as I said, I'm not here to teach, I'm here to learn. So I think with me, I'm hoping that you are all also learning something that you can apply in your day-to-day practice. And I have no huge expectation, right? I just wish that the purpose of setting up this center is just to, disseminate this knowledge there from Buddha and then Nalanda masters and then the other scholars who have dedicated all their life to, show the rightful path to all the sentient beings. So at least I'm making small contribution so that I will be blessed and get opportunity to follow them and then gain more knowledge and then share more in the future. Likewise, you should also, aspire to become more compassionate, and any merits that we accumulated here, please dedicate this merit to all the mother sentient beings. May they, realize the real nature of the phenomena, or we call emptiness, and with strong understanding of emptiness, may they also are able to become the light to show the path for others, those who are, unfortunate to get the opportunity. And may all the masters, those who teach, stay healthy and long to guide us more. With that, I would like to thank you again for your participation, online, offline, all. And if there is any doubt, you can leave message on email or text. Some of you they have access to WhatsApp.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are on WhatsApp, they can always share through the email as well.
Sure. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy your remaining Sunday. Thank you. I'll come there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.